see me pretty good here.
You're good.
All
Hey,
right.
everybody. How you guys doing? It's your boy Dave Saxologist. Another episode of Saxo Friends. Today, my special guest is a three-time #1 Billboard artist, and he's actually a bad mother, and his son is a bad mother too. This is brother Quintin Gerard W, and he is the father of the guitar sensation Lamech, and I had him on the show recently. So now we got a father-son duo here. So everybody, welcome my man Q. How you doing, Q?
Hey, man, I'm good. How are you? God bless you.
Oh man, I'm doing wonderful, man. Thanks for joining me on the podcast, man.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, number one. And it was also a pleasure seeing you this past weekend, too, man.
You,
Getting to
you,
meet you.
you know what, man? You know what? I got a lot to get to, but we're gonna start with that, man. Because
Yeah.
when I started doing this show, and I never thought that I would actually when I interview people, it'd be nice to meet them at the same time. And it
Uh-huh.
just so happened at the NAM show, I did your son, and
Yeah.
and I found
Yeah.
out that you were his father. So yeah.
Yeah, man. That's where everybody hangs out. So that's where we all go once a year. So it's always good to get back over there, get to see all your friends.
Yeah, man. So what is your take on, first of all, for the people that don't understand what NAM, don't know what NAM is, tell them what NAM is.
Okay, NAM, by definition, stands for the National Association of Music Merchants, and it's an organization founded to, provide a venue for manufacturers to display their products, all the new products that are coming out for the year, and a lot of music industry personnel and people from all angles of music, from the performers, the people that use the gear, to the manufacturers, the people that make the gear. This is where we all come together and have a conversation on the different products that they have and how they work. And we look forward to all that stuff coming out in the subsequent year, so we get to use that stuff, man. So it's always exciting because even though you go last year, there may be some new twist that they added to whatever the product is that you play or you use. So it's really cool. And there's a lot of breakout sessions with information and lectures and education and things like that going on as well. So it's a really good environment.
I agree, man. It's a vibe, man. I think I've been the last 5 years because
Okay.
being that I'm not a professional. Before, it was a little harder to get in. They
Oh
were,
yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean. So they loosened it up a little bit.
Yeah, they
So
did.
yeah,
They did that about 2 years. They started kind of gravitating to maybe opening it up a little bit more to the
yeah,
public.
yeah,
But yeah, prior to that, it was pretty much a private event though.
yeah. It was all you pros, and I was like, man, I would love to go, but I would try to go, but since I
Yeah,
wasn't a pro, they was like, "No, player."
yeah. Hard to get that ticket, right?
Yeah, yeah. But now, I'm a content creator, so there's a way around it. So
Absolutely,
now,
absolutely.
so they say I'm an artist creator. I'll take it. You know,
Yeah, yeah. It works. It works.
just get me in the game, man.
Yes,
So,
sir.
man, I was listening to your song, man. Your latest, the one, your single,
Streets of Gold.
"Streets of Gold," man. That's pretty tight, man. So, how did you come about that title, and what was your concept behind that?
Um, well, I don't, how do I say this? Um, Typically, when we get in the studio and start working on music, I have a concept of what I want to do. So I reached out to a good friend of mine, Mike Broning, who is a producer. I'm sure you guys know him very well. He's worked with a lot of people, Al Jarreau and George Benson, to name just a few, Grammy nominated, and so on. And me and Mike had already done a song uh, called "Broken Promises," which was my first single release in about 3 years ago, and it went #1 in Billboard. So I told Mike, I said, Mike, I think I want to do another song. He said, good, Q, let's look at it. So the way Mike works is he's got like this library of stuff that he's already done, right? So he gives you it's like going to the grocery store with a shopping cart. So he gives you a link and you just go to the link and it's got all this great music and to choose from. And aside from all the other songs that were there, this song kind of struck a nerve with me because it was not your typical, I guess, smooth jazz song. It's more of a throwback song that's kind of got more of a 90s uh, gospel inspirational feel to it, I guess, to me at least when I heard it. And it stuck out like a sore thumb from all the other songs. So I chose that song and I was like, you know what, man, this is just different. It's like totally different. And I'm all about pushing the envelope to being different, right?
Right,
And I said, yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. But I actually thought I was gonna do it on soprano, and I had this whole concept of something totally different
right,
than what the song was gonna come out to, because all I heard was a rhythm track, right? It wasn't no saxophone on it or anything like that. So when I got in the studio, long story short, I went ahead and cut the sax and we collaborated. And then I told him the song still didn't have a title. So, but after it was finished, it just had again that uplifting, inspirational feel to it. And I gave it the name Streets of Gold. And that's how that song came about. And that's how that title came about because it reminded me of, you know, somewhat biblical term, but not really, but more of a spiritual thing. So that's where the Streets of Gold came from.
nice, man. Real good track too, man. So,
Yeah, appreciate it.
so let's go back to the origins, man. Where you from, and when did you get started in music?
Yeah, man, I'm from a little town just outside of New Orleans, Louisiana, or for you out of towners, New Orleans.
Okay. All right.
And I started playing saxophone at 8 years old. So, it's been a lifetime commitment and journey for me, and I'm thankful for it. And growing up here in New Orleans area, everybody played something. I mean, it's just a musical city. It's a musical town. It's my mom was sung in church. My older brothers played instruments in school. So in my house, music was always there. And so I was the youngest of seven children, and my older brothers, there was a gap. I had like uh three older brothers and two sisters in between, and then me at the end. So my older brothers, there was a gap of about like 11 years between us. But so by the time they finished high school, I was just getting to high school pretty much, kind of thing. And that's how I started playing. And so just playing, learning music here in New Orleans. It's just a rich cultural history of music and things like that. I got to work with a lot of uh, really good musicians that taught me, really how to speak a language through the saxophone as opposed to use it as a technical tool. So I remember my sax teacher here in New Orleans. His name was Earl Turbinton, also known as the African Cowboy. So if you ask anybody, and then I went through the hard knocks of Ellis Marcellus as well. But the one thing I got from those gentlemen was that they told me that whenever you play the horn, make sure you say something. Don't just play anything. Play the horn as if you're talking to people or as if you're trying to say something to them. So that's how I got started, and that's how I got here.
What is it about the saxophone that resonated with you out of all the instruments so that made you want to play that?
Well, good question, man. Again, my brothers played clarinet in the high school band, so there was a clarinet in the house all the time, and I used to go and try to sneak in their room and put it together and play it, but they would catch me all the time and run me off.
Yeah.
And then, but one day I got in there and they weren't around, and I got to put it together and play it. It just was magical to me. The only thing with the clarinet, though, it just didn't resonate somewhat to the point that I wanted to play clarinet. I liked the saxophone because it was shiny.
You're right.
So an 8-year-old kid, they see the saxophone, it's nice and shiny, so but that was just the aesthetic value of it. But it was, of course, when I was growing up, I heard Grover Washington Jr. Um, I heard even Ellis Marcellus. A lot of people don't realize or know played saxophone. And there's some local people here that played saxophone as well. So that kind of opened my ear to the horn. But I think it wasn't until I heard a guy by the name of Jay Beckenstein with Spiral Gyra,
Yes.
who played a song called Catching the Sun and Shaker Song.
Yes.
And when I heard those songs, I think I heard Shaker Song first. And that was it for me, man. When I heard Jay play, Catching the Sun, Morning Dance, and Shaker Song, I'm like, I got to do this. I love that.
Yeah.
So
You know what?
yeah.
It's funny you mention him. A lot of times when I'm talking to people, he's one of the guys that doesn't come up when you talk about saxophone. That dude, Q, he'll be standing, man.
Oh, yes, sir. And you're absolutely right. He's not someone that a lot of people use as a point of reference, so to
Right.
speak. And that's why I'm always happy to mention him,
Yes.
because he is one of the most influential saxophonists of our, genre that has ever existed. Spiral Gyra, even to this day,
Yeah.
is still out there on tour, 50 years later, and Jay is still doing his thing out there. And, it was that was my second concert I went to, by the way, ever, was a
Okay.
Spiral Gyra concert. The first concert I went to was a Chuck Mangione concert. And
Okay.
Chuck had a sax player named Chris Vidala that played tenor saxophone. And when I saw him play, I was like, oh my God, I will never be that good. I was like, oh Lord, I got to practice. But no, seriously, with all due respect, Jay Beckenstein to me is one of the most influential saxophone players in smooth jazz that has ever been. I know a lot of people give credit to, yeah, David Sanborn and Grover and people like that, but uh, Jay Beckenstein is right there in that vein as well.
Yeah, he was a bad boy. Another cat, man, that he's not with us anymore. Remember Art Porter?
Absolutely.
Man,
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
he was dangerous too, wasn't he, man?
Yeah, Art Porter was a cool dude, man, and
Yeah.
he played with Jeff Lorber right after I played with Jeff Lorber. Actually, I was on tour with Jeff, and Art Porter actually recorded a song that I had recorded on one of his albums. It's called, well, at the time it was called "We Should Stay in Love," but I think they renamed it something else. So yeah, me and Art had that connection because I had recorded that song that Jeff had produced, and I didn't actually use it, but Art had just got his record deal, and he actually recorded a song that I had previously recorded. And he had heard my version of it. He said he
Right,
wanted
right,
to do that, yeah, do that song. So Art, yeah, but Art again is one of those contemporaries that came way later.
right, right.
I'm talking about legends like, Ronnie Laws and,
Oh man. Yeah.
James Moody and those kind of cats, and Wilton Felder Crusaders, and
Yes.
uh, Stanley Turrentine, and
Yeah.
those are the old school smooth jazz cats that really got this genre going, that kind of spawned this generation that I belong to, you know.
So when you growing up in New Orleans, such a musically rich tradition and everything there, how was the actual school programs for the music though? Was it adequate or
Man, that's a great question, because that's where everybody played music at in public school. I mean, private school as well. Um, but this was during those days when people actually cared about the arts, and we had monies set aside for school programs and music and schools programs and things like that. So I'm a product of the public school system, music in schools, because without that, I mean, what would kids do?
yeah,
We
right.
had nothing else. We didn't have video games in my generation coming up. All we had was sports. You understand? So, and I did play sports as well, for those of you who don't believe that. But I was pretty good at it too, baseball and football, a little bit of football. But yeah, music in school was vital to our survival back in those days as a aspiring wannabe artist and saxophone player. It gave us opportunities to perform in local communities and bands, and here in Mardi Gras parades and things like that. So high school band and those kind of things. So yeah, that was huge. Whereas nowadays, I think most of the music programs are privately funded. which
Yeah.
is, almost shameful in a country that, has billions of dollars to, give to people in foreign countries. We've got school systems that could use a little bit of that money to help these children learn to, develop their art form and things like that. But that's a side note. I digress. But yeah, um, yeah, we did have public school systems, and they were fully funded at that time for music.
Well, just an example, since we're on that subject, uh, one my sax repair tech, she does some work for a high school. She
Uh-huh.
told me that all the instruments they have, they all beat up and everything. They get $2,500 a year for maintenance to fix
Mm,
instruments.
yeah,
I mean,
it's
come
not
on.
a that's not a lot of money at
No,
all.
no,
And that's like I said, that's shameful.
yeah,
And it's almost like what is our tax dollars going for? You start to ask a question. I'm paying taxes, but I don't get to dictate what my tax dollars pay for. And
right,
that's a conversation for another platform. So I'll stay
right.
away from that.
Hey, let me ask you about what was your first horn that you played? What was the brand?
It was a gosh, great question. That would have been a Busher. Was my first alto saxophone. So I started playing alto, but even before that, we had to learn music. Even before I got a saxophone, I had to learn music on what's called a tonette, and it's not a recorder. It's actually called a tonette, and we played that thing for almost 2 months, before they would even give me my saxophone. And the reason for that is because they wanted us to learn how to read music first.
Okay,
Nowadays, uh, sadly, unfortunately, in which again that spawns off into another conversation, but sadly enough, a lot of people can go on Amazon and eBay these days and just buy a horn, never take a music class, never read music, never learn to read music, and just start playing the horn through osmosis and then move on into playing saxophone professionally without ever having taken a music course and don't have no clue of how to read music or anything like that. And that's okay. I'm not um, knocking that or anything like that, but there is some uh, drawbacks to doing it that way. You really miss out on the actual understanding component of how important it is to understand really what's going on musically while you're playing.
right. Yeah, because this is a language, just like you said, it's a language, man. The music,
Absolutely. Yeah.
because you can play by ear is great, but what
Yeah.
if you go somewhere you want to play in a big band, they got a chart. How you going to read the chart?
Exactly. Exactly. And that happens a lot of times to a lot of guys. And there's a lot of guys out there that are professional that, fall into that trap. And when they get there, it's an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah,
So, and that's, again, I'm not really here to, knock anybody. I'm just talking about my experience. I
right,
was fortunate enough to, come up that way, what I'm saying, with people that were more educators. Because music, my approach and the way it was presented to me was through education. So music was not art form until it was education first, then it became an art. So you learn the education side of it. In other words, you understand how that works. Then you became an artist. Whereas now people are becoming artists before they even understand what they're doing and how to play. So it's like flipped around, you know what I'm saying? So
you're
you
right.
got artists first and then, oh, I'll learn music later. Whereas before we had to learn music first,
Yeah,
then now you're prepared and you've got the tools you need to go on and become an artist.
yeah, that's true, man. So, what is your primary voice now, though? As far as which horn is your favorite now?
Really, man, that's like having three kids and you're trying to say which one you like the most. No, I started on alto, and a lot of people don't. I guess folks who don't know me will see me playing tenor a lot now,
Right.
but I'm actually an alto player, and I started playing alto saxophone. However, because of the success of my last four records, they're all on tenor saxophone.
Right.
So I find myself playing tenor saxophone more than anything right now, when actually tenor saxophone was just an additional horn, an additional voice that I would occasionally play.
Right.
Now I find myself playing it all the time, and it's kind of challenging because I got people like Kirk Whalum, and Kirk came up to me and he said, "Man, I want to play sax." Like I said, "Dude, you crazy? I'm an alto player playing tenor, man. Are you crazy?" So man, it's one of them things. I play all of them,
Yeah.
and I try to play all of them well. You know, understand
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So
Yes.
um, I just play saxophone. I don't care which one it is, soprano, alto, tenor, even baritone. I play that as well. So, um, because I played baritone saxophone when I was in college. I had to. They put me on baritone saxophone, and I was like, "Oh Lord, I got to carry this big thing around." And but I learned to appreciate it, get to learn it, and know it, and understand that language and that voice as well. So yeah, I don't really have a favorite, um, but I am playing a lot of tenor saxophone and soprano saxophone right now. My alto, even Lamech didn't even. He was like, "I didn't even know you played alto." It's my son. Yeah, he was like, "Why don't you play alto more, man? I didn't even know you played the alto saxophone." Like, and
Yeah.
I just gave him that dad look, like, really, dude.
Speaking of Lamech, when I just said, I asked him when I was interviewing, I said, "How did you get away with not playing the sax? Your dad gets down like that, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
How did that happen? How
Well,
did he end up on guitar, man?"
well, okay. So his first instrument was actually drums. I wanted him to be a drummer. That's what I wanted. And the reason I wanted him to be a drummer was because I told him, well, even when he was little, I didn't tell him he was little, but as he got older, I told him, I said, "Well, I want you to play drums because there's always a demand for drummers. There's never right now in these days a high demand for sax players. But if you're a drummer, you can get a gig because everybody needs a drummer in a band. Not everybody needs a saxophone player in a band." So
Right.
that was the reason why I told him, well, I wanted him to start playing drums. So I bought him a drum kit when he was like literally 2 years old. He was playing drums. His legs were so short they could barely reach the kick pedal. So
Yeah.
I bought a stool that compressed really short for him to
Yeah.
get down to the floor. And he was so cute. I got a picture around here somewhere of him doing that. Um, but then things happened. We moved and we moved into a home with my dad, and the drums were just in the space. We didn't have the space, so I put the drums away, and then he was left musicianless and homeless and instrumentless. And then a friend of mine came over one day with an acoustic guitar, and uh, and he gave it to him, and it was a birthday present, I think, and from there he just started goofing off and doodling around with it, and I had no pressure on him. I said, "Man, you don't have to play that, if you don't want to." As a matter of fact, I told him you didn't even have to do music if you didn't want to. But he went on to do it, and then eventually it clicked, and then he reached this point where he was like, "Okay, what am I going to do?" And he ran into this guy that was a Peruvian guitar player he fell in love with, and he started learning more seriously and taking it more seriously, and then became a guitar player. And that's how he became a guitar player. Now, to answer your question, why doesn't he play saxophone? Well, guess what? He just bought a saxophone. He bought two. He's got a soprano and an alto, and I'm giving him lessons slowly.
There we
And
go.
he's learning. Yeah, yeah. He's actually picked up the saxophone and he's trying to learn it. And he's like, I don't know how you guys play this, man, because a sax and a guitar is like
Yeah.
left and right, bro.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like totally different concepts. So I tell them, don't try to rush, just take your time and it'll come.
So what you working about with getting the armature and everything together, the long tones and
That's
all
the first thing. Yeah,
that? Yeah.
I gave him a mouthpiece that's really comfortable, that makes it a little easier for him to play, because that's the key is, your mouthpiece on saxophone and the reed, of course. And his thing though right now is he's so busy as a guitar player. He has to really struggle to find time to pick up the horn consistently.
Yeah.
And like anything else, you got to do it consistently. But his phone is ringing up. Man, that dude phone rings like crazy, with people from all angles in the business calling him for whatever sessions or gigs or recording things. So he's a busy dude, and he's only getting busier and better.
And he's so versatile, man. He can play
Yeah.
everything, man.
Oh, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Man, I guess that's the thing, man, because at one point Lamech, he's not even like, I don't even feel like he's my son. He's like a good friend of mine, like one of my buddies, like one of my music buddies,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and because we've gone way past the point of learning music and teaching him music and all that. I mean, when he recorded his first single for his first album, that was my last, I guess, input or influence in terms of how he approached music, how he did it, what he had to say, and any critique or instruction that I would give him. And after that song, it clicked, and I said, "Okay, he's got it now. He's gone. I
Yeah.
don't have to tell him nothing anymore." As a matter of fact, he teaches me now, actually. So
Okay.
that's how it's actually come full circle because he actually shows me some stuff that he's learned, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. I never thought about that.
That's a very
So
interesting dynamic. So now, we got the Marcellus family, from down there, and we got you too,
yeah,
man, doing your thing,
yeah,
man.
yeah, man. Yeah. Dad's been around a while now, so
Yeah.
Dad's been in the game for a minute. So it's been a great journey, and I'm actually going into another episode or another phase of my career, which maybe down the road we'll have to talk about as well. But it's going to be
Yeah.
very interesting as well.
So let me ask you, when you were growing up, what were some of the things that you on the saxophone? What were some of the key elements to your tone development? What were you working on then and you do now? 'Cause you
One of
got a
the
wonderful
keys,
tone, man.
one of the keys, with no pun intended, right? um, what I started doing, I still do to this day. I've been playing the saxophone over 50 years. Nothing's changed. I think when people ask me a question like that, because I get a lot of questions about my tone and how everybody likes it. And I think that's why my music is so successful. It's not because of, how I play, but it's what I play and the way I play it. And the answer to this question is going to be for all the people listening to this interview that may play saxophone or aspire to play saxophone or who have played saxophone and want to know, the most important thing I was taught about playing the saxophone is sound. Nobody cares if you play good. You can play good, but if you sound bad, nobody's going to hear you. You can sound great, but not play so well, and people will still love you because you sound good.
Yeah.
See, it's not about what you're playing because they love the sound. And remember, music is about what? Frequencies. It's all about sound frequency. So that's a very important thing. And I taught Lamech that as well. That's very important. So you have to sound good before you can play good. And again, back to Jay Beckenstein. When I was and Grover Washington as well, when I was in my formative years of learning to play the saxophone, I heard how they sound. I wasn't so fascinated with how they played. You understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It was the sound
Yes.
of the saxophone that they produce. So I knew at that point that I had to sound good. And the way you do that on a saxophone is by listening, playing one note, long tones, and just listening. That's it. And I still do that today. As a matter of fact, my warm-up program is that's what I do. Even at NAM, when I was at NAM this past week, if I would go to one of those horn manufacturers where you got all these saxophones set up, you walk in there and I'll see a guy come in, put on his neck strap, put a horn on, pick the horn up, and right away just start going, man. But I'm the guy that'll go in there and I make sure the reed is right and everything. And the first thing I'm gonna do is just long tones.
Yeah.
And then, but the thing about it, and I see it all the time, all of these people that are over there just shredding and doing all the stuff, they stop and they just turn and they start listening to me, just playing whole notes.
Uh-huh.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's the deal. And my saxophone teacher, who's Kenny Garrett, stressed that a lot, and he taught me about how to capture that round sound on saxophone. So Kenny's a master of that, and we talk about that a lot. I mean, and even with my students, I talk about that a lot. You can get technique. Technique is going to come but that's not the focus of playing saxophone. The sound, because it's harder to get a good tone than it is to learn a scale at 92 beats per minute or 120 beats per
Right.
minute. You put a metronome on, you can play, anybody can do that, but you can play that scale at 120 beats per minute and sound horrible doing it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You understand? So that look, bro, that's an OG talking, right?
Yeah.
That's that's how we get down though,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's why I got 3 Billboard number ones.
That's
It's for
right.
that very reason right there.
Yeah.
It's not magic. It's not like I got lucky,
Right. Right.
you know. No, because if I got lucky, that would have been just the first one. That's luck.
Yeah.
But then you get two more back to back, and the fourth one is a top five. It's a trend at that point. It's not luck anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
You're right
understand?
about that, man. Hey, let me ask you about a side B flat or bis, man. Which do you prefer, or does it just depend on the passage you playing?
I'm sorry. What was
I'm
that
sorry,
question again?
side B flat or bis B
Oh,
flat?
um, it depends. It
Depends on what.
depends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on where you're at, because sometimes it's quicker to just hit it here, and then
Yeah.
sometimes if you're playing upper registers, it just depends. I do both,
You
so
do both,
yeah.
yeah. I'm not real sometimes I mess up on that bis if
Mhm.
if it's a quick passage or something, so I'm a little
Yeah.
bit more comfortable with the side one most of the time though, but
Well, the Bis key, it's actually the side B flat sometimes is harder to play uh crisp and clean.
yeah.
Because if you're going from that to a C, you can get in between. You're not hitting this side note fast enough,
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah,
these,
yeah, you're right.
it gets
Yeah,
off. So it gets off on you sometimes. So,
yeah,
uh, but like I said, with practice, you get them both, but it just depends on what you're doing, and also the expression and the phrasing that you're trying to, the length, what you're trying to say
right.
also, because both has its advantages and disadvantages.
Alright, yeah, that's right, man. Do you play a lot of
Mm.
altissimo, man, or is that something that you
Uh,
don't is
Well, I play altissimo when altissimo is required.
okay,
I'm not one of these guys that is reaching for the stars every
yeah,
time I pick up the horn,
right, right,
no.
right.
Because to me, it's not musical when you overdo it.
Yeah,
And a lot of players now, you hear it all the time. And it just, I guess, um, you know, because of the challenges of doing it, it's a really challenging expression. And so a lot of people, I guess, like to display their talent by doing it because it's very challenging to play those
yeah,
altissimo
yeah,
registers.
yeah,
And so when they get into it, they say, "Look, it's kind of more of a like, look, I can do this, which is really hard."
yeah,
Well, but the music doesn't require that.
yeah,
See, I only play what the music tells me to play. I don't force my will on the song. I don't impose my will on anything. I let whatever it is be natural. So if it calls for it, absolutely, I'm going to make it happen. But if it doesn't, it serves no purpose at all whatsoever, because
mm,
it depends on what the song is asking for. Because from an expression standpoint, altissimo register sounds out of place if it's used in the wrong place.
yeah. That's good. That's a good answer, man. Let me ask you about your song. What is your process of creating, man? How do you come up with your songs? Do you start at the keyboard, or does an idea come to you somewhere, or what?
All of the above.
All of the
It all depends. Like right now, because of the stuff that I'm working on, the music that I'm producing right now, I'm using a lot of rhythm patterns to start. Um, Typically, though, when I'm working on my album or albums or songs that I'm writing and producing, I'll sit at this keyboard and I'll hear something and I'll harmonize it, with the keyboard. You
right.
understand what I'm saying? But like I said, it all depends on the scenario, what I'm working on, what I'm working for, or or I'll just pick up the horn and write a melody. Like on my
Yeah,
soprano, I'll just play like, wow, I like that melody, and then I'll play that melody on keyboard, so I know what I just played, and then I'll harmonize, get the chord changes, and then go into the computer and write the progression, and then from there, start working on the song. So I find though that When you do it with the horn first, the songs really become special as opposed to just coming up with a rhythm groove or just a chord progression. Because when I write music with my saxophone, I can tell the whole story, within 16 bars,
Right.
pretty much. And it's very easy at that point to elaborate on it. Whereas with the drum groove, you kind of locked into that 8 bar, 4 bar groove. So then you got to kind of find your way through there. And same thing with chord progression. You come up with a great chord progression, then you're like, okay, where am I going to go from here? So they all have their advantages and disadvantages as well, but I use all of them. But depending on what I'm working on, dictates how I approach a song and how I start.
Say, let's talk horns, man. What are your setup right now? What are you playing on alto, tenor, and soprano?
Well, again, depends on the gig and the venue, but I have a Selmer Mark 6 alto, and of course I've got a purple label Yamaha YS 62 that was purchased in 1983, which is a vintage horn right now, which is just amazing. And on my tenors, I have my Mark 6 Selmer Mark 6 tenor. It's a 1959 model. I also have a John Paul custom, uh, a tenor saxophone. I endorse them as well. And then I have my Yamaha custom Z, um, black lacquer tenor saxophone, what I play. And then soprano, I have a John Paul soprano and a purple label Yamaha soprano. Same horns that Jay Beckenstein played
Yeah, yeah.
back in the day. So the
Right.
Yamaha purple labels, that's what he played. And I have an alto and a soprano, both the same horns Jay played back in the day. He doesn't. I don't know if he plays them. He's got new horns now that he plays for people, but
Right.
I'm sure he still has his original horns that he had when he was in the group Spiral Gyra way back in the '70s.
Yeah, because
So
he's been a Yamaha artist for a long time, I think, right? Yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
forever, yeah, forever, yeah, yeah. And I've been a Yamaha artist forever as well. I just had to get a Selmer Mark 6 though. I mean,
Right,
I just
right.
had to have one. And I ran across one that was just, man, it was impeccable shape, and it was almost like it was sitting in somebody's closet in Denver. And I saw it, it was like brand new. So yeah, I had to buy it. It was one of those deals, and
Yeah,
I've always
yeah,
wanted one. And so yeah, and then my tenor, of course, I bought way back in 1989, even though it was a '59 model, it was used. And I moved on to the Yamaha tenor because you know I love the custom Z. It's just the ergonomics and
yeah,
all that, just intonation from top to bottom, evenness, and all of that. A lot of great horns out there now, man. It's not like it used to be when they made them by hand.
yeah.
Everything's made in the factory now. Same factory makes all these saxophones. They
That's
just
right.
put a different name on them.
Yeah,
Not all of them, but most of them are
most of
coming out of the same factory. And they just put, because they're made with machines now and lasers and all these kind of things. So you're going to get a good horn.
yeah,
I mean, you buy a horn from whoever today, it's better than anything that was made 50 years ago.
that's
So
true.
that argument is old.
Yeah,
Yeah, the stuff that are being manufactured now is just so beautiful, so clean, and you don't have to spend a lot of money for a saxophone. You can spend maybe $600 and get you a saxophone, and you can sound like a professional and sound great on that horn. So for all you people out there that want to play sax, you don't have to spend $8,000, $10,000 for a horn.
no, you
It's
don't.
no,
No,
you
you
don't have
don't.
to do that.
If you
You can
want to,
get
that's fine, but you don't have to, like you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, if you got the bread to
yeah,
do it and you want
yeah.
to go for it,
Right,
it's
right,
on you. But you can get you if you want a professional horn, you can get you something for about $1,200,
right.
$800,
Yeah.
and you can play that horn for a long time and sound really good.
Jean Paul, you
Remember,
said you a Jean Paul endorser, and I have a couple of those. I can attest to those. Those are good
yeah,
horns,
man.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Mm.
And I bought them as my road instruments.
Uh-huh.
So I don't take my Yamaha Custom Z. That's only going out, for real deal stuff,
Right,
so to
right,
speak, and
right.
high-end stuff. But because when you're going through airports, man, your stuff gets beat up, man.
Yeah.
Uh, TSA and throwing luggage, and so it's a challenge. People don't realize for us, and my Yamaha, it is like an $8,000 saxophone. Okay,
Right.
but I'm not gonna let that thing out of my sight while I'm
Yeah.
on the road. It's strapped on my back,
Yeah, I know that's right.
Um, so, but when I do go to some gigs, I'll pack up my John Pauls, and they're workhorses. So
Yeah.
if they get beat up, I'm not really as traumatized as I
Yeah.
would be if my Yamaha got beat up. There's some horror stories in those airports, man.
I've heard some.
Bro, they got some horror stories in the airports, boy.
Oh, man.
You got people opening musicians' cases. Um, I think Ron Artest just had a guitar broken. It was like a $20,000 guitar, and it
What?
was totally destroyed by TSA. And he had to go through the airlines, get lawyers and everybody
Yeah.
involved to try to get his money back. I don't want those problems. So
Yeah. Yeah. I know
I
that's
guess
right.
that's I guess that's too much information, but
I
I
know.
had
You
fun.
know what? Hey, I feel you, man. I've
I had
always
fun with
asked
that.
guys. I always ask guys about the airport experiences. A lot of times, maybe like,
Yeah,
you
man.
know,
You can go on YouTube and just type in musical instrument gets destroyed on YouTube and watch.
just
Look at some of the foolishness that's going on with these people in the
oh my
airport.
god.
That's totally trashing musicians' instruments, man. It's like unbelievable. It's like so. It's real story. That's real life.
Hey, so let's talk about your time with Jeff Lorber, man. And so how was that experience with him, man?
It was awesome. It was awesome. Jeff and I've already, I've told Jeff many times that he was very influential in my formative years as becoming a musician. That was my first actual tour that I'd ever done. And that was my first, I think, real gig, professional gig that I gotten when I moved to Los Angeles back in 90. Well, I moved in 89, I moved to Los Angeles, but I think I got with Jeff back in 91, 92-ish, somewhere like that. And the album Worth Waiting For had just came out. His Worth Waiting For album. So he had a tour, and I was introduced to him through a producer friend of mine that I was working with, that I met through Club Nouveau, because I was doing a lot of session work back in those days.
Okay.
And I was working with Jay King with Club Nouveau, and then I met a person named Morris Renty, who was a friend of Jeff's, and they had written some tracks together. And so I went in the studio and recorded. And to to circle back, that was actually one of the songs that Art Porter had recorded that I was telling you about.
Okay.
So we went in the studio and I recorded. That was three of those songs, and Jeff heard it and he said, "Man, who's the sax player?" He said, "Well, it's this cat from New Orleans." And so he said, "Man, give him my number and give him a call." And so hooked it up. I went out to Jeff's house in Palisades, and uh, it's funny. Me and Dave Coz got the same story about how Jeff auditions you at his house. And I want to give a shout out to everybody that don't know, but Jeff unfortunately lost his home
Yeah.
during those fires up there. And JHL Studios, which he had a beautiful SSL console in there, all that stuff is gone. So again, Jeff, if you hear this, man, my heart goes out to you with that. And holla if you need anything. But yeah, me and Kaz, when Kaz started playing with Dave, with Jeff, he did the same thing. He says, "Hey man, come on in, welcome." And right when you walk through the door, Jeff's house, I think it was a baby grand piano right there, like in the room next door to the door you walk in. He said, "Come on in, man, pull your horn out and let's jam a little bit." You don't go into the house. You just stop right there, And Dave was like, "Yep." And he said, "All right, let's jam." So you start jamming and you start playing, and that's your audition right there with Jeff Lorber.
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh Lord, this man gonna throw me out of this house." And I was like, "Oh gosh, this is,
Uh,
so he says, "All right, man, sounds good." So he slams the keyboard shut. He says, "Come on in, let me show you the studio." So, and that's how you get a gig. That's how
yeah.
you get the gig with Jeff. Well, at least that's how you got it back then,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so me and Dave laughed. We talked about this on the cruise too. We looked at each other like, "Yeah, that's how." Dave said same thing happened to Dave Cox. He did the same thing.
How did you speaking of Dave Cars, man, that's a great cruise. I've never been, but how did you end up getting on that, man?
They called us. They called me and Lamech, and they wanted us to do it. Um, that's pretty much how it went. So, just a phone call. It's that
Yeah.
simple. And it's funny because there's a guy that works with Dave that's a good friend of mine as well from way back. His name is Rodney Lee, and he plays keyboards and piano with a lot of smooth jazz artists. I know. I think I saw him with the Huge Groove, but he works with Dave very closely, and neither Dave nor I knew that Rodney was friends. We were all friends,
Right,
and
right.
so I hadn't seen Rodney in like, oh my gosh, 20 years, because he was my first keyboard player when I moved to Los Angeles, and we did shows together. And it turns out he was one of Dave's musical directors. And man, we saw each other for the first time in 20 years, and it was just an experience. So it was awesome. It was awesome. So yeah, it's a small circle of friends, man.
Yeah.
When you get in there, because I've been doing it for so long, I've pretty much met. If I don't know a lot of people, I've met them. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, or I know somebody that knows them. It
Yeah.
gets in that area. So
The thing about Dave Cars, like you said, the circle, Paul Taylor, all these guys I talked to,
yeah,
everything, about this guy, like in my analogy of him, I said he's kind of like the Quincy Jones of
yeah.
jazz artists. Am I on to something there? You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Davis right now, I guess, would be considered like the patriarch of smooth jazz.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and I told him when we got on the boat, I was like, Dave, man, this is like the Super Bowl of smooth jazz.
Right.
I mean, it really was. If I don't know if you've been on a cruise or if you're planning to go, it is literally the Super Bowl of smooth jazz. The entire boat on every level is decked out, you know, with Dave Kaz cruise stuff and banners, and
Yeah.
even the elevator has paper on it with Dave Kaz cruise. It is an experience of a lifetime. And when you go there as an artist and a musician, you feel as though you're a part of something really special. You feel like the Super Bowl teams, like you
Yeah.
made it to the Super Bowl of jazz, smooth jazz. And we had a meeting. I think the most overwhelming part for me was when we had our pre-cruise meeting in the auditorium. We had 140 musicians, artists, stage crew, lighting crew, sound crew people, all in an auditorium. And we were all in there together, and we all had our Dave Cos Cruise sweatshirts on, and you look around and you just see name after name after name after name. Everybody's there. I mean, it was amazing. Richard Elliott, Peter White. I mean, just Rick Braun. On and on and on, man. It's just we're all here. So it's easy to kind of get starstruck. You know what I'm saying? In there.
And
So
LeMay
it
was there
was.
with
It's
you?
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, me and Lamech, because we had our shows as well, so we
Okay.
did our shows. Yeah, we're part of the whole thing. And I mean, man, when I tell you, David Benoit's in there,
Yeah.
I mean, just Jonathan Butler. I mean,
Mm.
Mesa. It's just,
Kurt Whalum?
Kirk wasn't on
He
this one.
wasn't on that one? Okay.
No, Kirk wasn't on this one. But Eric Darius. I mean,
Yeah.
Jasmine Gent. I'm just talking about sax
Oh,
players.
yeah,
Mindy
yeah, yeah.
Abear, Grace Kelly,
Oh, yeah.
just Marcus Anderson, Adrian Crutchfield, BK Jackson, just everybody's there, man. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It was amazing. I'm actually working on my video. I'm what is this now? 5 months later. I thought the cruise was in July. I'm 6 months later, and I
Yeah.
still haven't finished putting a video together of that thing because I'm putting my little experience video. I'm making a video of it. So, but it's
Yeah.
just a lot of editing to do, but I haven't got to yet. But I'm working on it, and
Okay.
I'm gonna put that together, and I'll have that available for everybody to actually see and it's called From an Artist Perspective. So I'm
Great.
doing it from an artist perspective of how it was.
Now that we're talking about festivals, let's go back to Catalina, because that's my homie out here. I saw
Oh
you
yeah,
and Lamech doing your thing at the Catalina Jazz Fest. How was that
yeah.
experience, man?
Man, that was awesome. Art Good again called us. I heard about us. Man, when you start getting these Billboard number ones and you're on the charts, you kind of get on the radar. And a lot of the promoters, they see you and they're like, well, they're new. We want to give these people, these new people, an opportunity, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
And that's pretty much what happened. So they called us and we went out to Catalina and we did our thing. I did put a video together for that, and that's out there and it's on YouTube, and anybody can who wants to see it's on my website. You go to my website, click on it, it'll say Catalina Jazz Tracks, and it's like a little documentary of that experience. It takes you through that whole thing from an artist's perspective.
Right. Right.
And so I like doing these videos because I like to show people what it's like from our view
Yeah.
of how we go about doing what we do, because a lot of times the audience, they're looking at it from the front side,
Right.
but I'm showing them how it looks from the backside, because that I always thought that was intriguing and interesting, so
Right.
I like sharing that.
So I read it somewhere that you recorded with Rick James. Did you record with Rick James?
Yes, I did.
You
Yes, I
did.
did.
Talked about
Yes, I
that.
did. Yeah, man. Rick James. Again, I had got a call from a producer friend of mine that I was working with, Morris. Again, same guy introduced me to Jeff Lorber. And he said, Q, come on, man. I'm coming to pick you up. Uh, I just got a call from Rick James. He wants us to come down to the studio. And I was like, okay, man, no problem. So I grabbed my horn and he picked us up. So we got to the studio. Rick wasn't there yet, but the guy that called Morris was there, and he said, "Yeah, man, thanks for coming, man." And this was just when he got out of jail, that whole thing,
Right.
and he was trying to build his career back up again. So I was there right when he got out of jail, and he was trying to get the ball rolling again. And even when he came in the studio, he was saying, "Man, Q, nice to meet you." I was so worried because I didn't have a sax player. I didn't know where I was going to find a sax player. He told me that, and I was like, "Well, I'm a sax player. Here I am."
Yeah.
Let's get it done. So we wound up recording on a song, and it works this way in the business sometimes. Sometimes you will play on a song, but it doesn't get released.
Yes.
And so I was in there and I was just cutting tracks, and then so the songs that actually made it to the record, the song that I recorded on was not on the record.
Okay.
Or at least I didn't see it on there. It might
Right.
have came on a subsequent release or something. I didn't check into it. But yes, I did get to meet Rick, and the cool thing about Rick was he was just a genuine person. He was just a really nice person. I get it, all the narrative surrounding
Right.
his name and the mystique and all that, but to me and the people I was with that night, he treated us like first class with royalty. So
Right.
we were all standing on the street corner on Fairfax, and I think it was Melrose or something like that. And Rick just comes in his Mercedes and just drives up on the curb. And he said, "Hey, y'all, let's go shopping." So I was like, "Okay, let's go shopping." So we go down Melrose, and he takes us into this leather store, and it was the most beautiful leather jackets I've ever seen in my life in that place. And the cheapest leather jacket in there I could find was about $5,000. Yeah, this was on Melrose Avenue.
Yeah.
Melrose.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So Rick was like, "Oh man," and they had this beautiful one with an Indian chief feathers head, kind of like the Washington Redskins head
Yeah.
on the helmet, but it was on the back of a leather jacket and it had been custom made and all the beautiful feathers and stuff. Rick said, "Give me that jacket up there," and he put it on. And he says, "All right, what y'all want? Just pick a jacket, pick whatever y'all want." And I was like, I looked at Morris and I was like, man, I'm not picking no $5,000 jacket, So Rick put the jacket on, walked out the store, just put it on and walked out. And so his manager was with us, and he said, "You guys want a jacket?" And I was like, "No, man, I don't want a jacket." Because I thought I was gonna have to eventually pay
Yeah.
for it, right?
Right. Right.
I'm like, I'm a saxophone player, man. I don't make that kind of bread yet,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So his manager went up to the salesperson, gave him his business card, and said, "Call me tomorrow, and I'll send you a check for that jacket." But that's the kind of person Rick was.
Yeah.
He was that kind of dude, man. He was just like that. He was just like he was ready to buy everybody a $5,000, $8,000 jacket just because he met us that night. That's how, that's how he was.
Yeah.
He was that dude. So yeah, I get the narrative, and I know he did some bad things and
Right.
all that, but in my world, I have nothing but good things to say about him.
So
Yeah, he's one of the nicest people in the business I've ever met.
So let me ask you, have you ever met anybody famous that you just like, wow, I can't believe. I mean, Rick James could be one, but I mean, is it somebody that you met, somebody like somebody like Michael Jackson, somewhere you just like, I can't believe, kind of fanboy. You met anybody like that?
Yeah, yeah, Miles Davis.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Miles. As a matter of fact, me and Kenny Garrett was the last two people to speak to Miles Davis before he went into a coma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was the last person to speak to Miles. Me and Kenny Garrett, and I wrote a song on my Perseverance album. It's called "Last Call from Miles." And we were driving through Hollywood, and Kenny got a page at that time because we had pagers back in those days,
Right,
right?
right.
And he said, I was driving. He said, "Hey, Q, pull over, man. I need to give Miles a call. I just got a text from Miles because Miles was in town at the Hollywood Bowl. He had a show, and he went into the hospital right after that. And so we pulled over, and we found a payphone in just shy of North Hollywood, kind of like Universal area. And he put him on the phone, and we talked to him. We told him we love him, and he said, "All right, guys." And then that night, he went to a coma, and he passed away right after that. So that was the last phone call Miles had. It was to me and Kenny.
Wow, man, I'm
A
sorry
lot
to
of
hear
people don't know that. A lot
that.
of people don't know that. And I was told by, some legal people to make sure I write that story down in detail. So I literally had to like go in not a dark room, but in a quiet room and meditate and kind of clear my mind and actually go back to that night and actually write out literally every step of what happened that night. And I managed to do that. And I actually have a document written about the last phone call that Miles Davis made, and I have to send that to my attorney so that can get copywritten, and hopefully we can get that published one day. And
No,
Kenny knows it as well. He's verified, so we've talked about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I remember that, and we remember this," and so yeah. So to answer your question, yeah, yeah, Miles was that was
yeah,
my guy, man. I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so
So give me your Mount Rushmore saxophone players, man.
gosh.
Yeah, I'll give you five. We get four. I'll give you five. I'll give you a bonus.
Okay, that's good. All right, my Mount Rushmore,
Yes, your
not
Mount.
nobody else's.
Yeah, that's yours.
Well, again, Jay Beckenstein has to be on there. Ronnie Laws,
Oh, yeah.
Kenny Garrett, um, uh, this guy by the name of Rick Morgitza. You need to look him up.
Okay.
We played together in college, and he played with Miles as a matter of fact as well. Rick Morgitza, Margitza. And boy, this
Yeah.
last one is a toss up between Branford Marsalis, Michael Brecker, and Bob Minzer. So
Wait.
that's a tough one.
Hey, you know what? This every time I ask, everybody has a problem. Everybody has a hard time with that
So that
one.
number five spot, and not necessarily in that
Right,
order.
right.
So they could be in any order. So I mean, I would have to say Branford, but man, I can't leave out Brecker and Bob Minzer either.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just
It's hard.
five is hard. 10
It's
is
hard.
easier, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, man.
But
10 would be easier.
mine changes because right now mine is John Clemmer. You know John Clemmer?
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah.
love me some John Clemmer. That's my boy, man. David Sanborn.
Desinfinato, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Sanborn, Stanley Turntine,
yeah.
and Kirk Whalum, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
man, now you made me leave Kirk out. That's
Yeah.
my boys.
It's
I only
hard,
got
man.
five though.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. No, man, Kurt's been there. Kurt's been there for me too over the years. As a matter of fact, I just saw him a month ago. He was here in New Orleans, and I told him, I said, "Man, I want to thank you for being just for being a big brother to me because you and Kenny kept my head on straight, and that's why I'm still in this game, man. Because really, you have to have mentors in this business,
Yeah.
in this thing, and Kenny Garrett, Kirk Whalum, and this other dude named Ron Brown, uh, they were saxophone big brothers to me. You know what I'm saying? And Kirk was like, "Man, I'm glad to hear you. I'm glad you're still in it. I'm glad to hear that. I didn't know you felt that way." I was like, "Bro, you know." And they would just not only be great players, but they're great people,
Yeah.
and they helped me deal with the business side of it. Because a lot of guys flame out, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's tough, man. It's a tough business.
Yeah.
And Kirk is one of those folks that, gave me some love and advice and guidance, as well as Kenny. They always were really nice people, warm people to guide you and say, "Hey, man, just keep working at it. You're gonna be all right,"
Yeah.
kind of thing. That encouragement, because sometimes, man, you need to hear it. I don't care how good you are. Depending on your talent is one thing, but this business is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Talent is only a small percentage of it,
So
of how this whole thing works.
let me ask you, growing up and having a son, do you have other children besides Lament?
No, no, just
He's
lament. I just
okay.
got one.
So how
Mhm.
was that? You growing up, you growing as a musician, and you got this young child. You trying to bring him along and everything. Did you have to move different places and all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely, yeah. I left LA in 1999 when Lamech was about to be born, or my wife was pregnant, and we moved to Orlando, Florida. Okay,
Okay.
we stayed there for about 5 years, and then I left there and came back to New Orleans. So yes, we did move around and things like that. And then remember, throughout all of that, the music industry is changing.
Yes.
Music is changing.
Yeah.
Record labels are kind of now becoming a thing of the past and all that kind of stuff. Every home studios are starting to come about. So that's what happened to me. I built a home studio, and I started because I didn't need to be in Los Angeles anymore. Because back in the day, you had to be in LA or New York to
Right.
be a musician and
Yeah.
recording artist,
Right.
because that's where all the studios were. You know what I'm saying? Well, as technology caught up with that, you know, artists like myself, it benefited us because we could now start recording at home and writing our own stuff and now putting out, our own material as independent artists now.
Okay.
So that's how that worked for me. But yeah, I did have to move around a little bit.
What are your thoughts on the state of the music business now? Streaming versus physical copies, etc. And what do you think about that?
Um, okay, well, to clarify that, the first thing I say is there's two components of that. There's the music business, and then there's the business of music. So those are two separate things.
Okay.
So I think what you're talking about is the music business, so to speak, in terms of the streaming platforms versus, retail distribution, the
Right.
way it used to be, and those kind of things, right?
Right. Right.
Okay, yeah. So, um, again, everything has changed.
Yeah.
Like even like Quincy Jones song, nothing stays the
Yeah.
same,
Yeah.
man.
That's true. Yeah.
Um, so that's why it's so important now for artists and musicians to become business people. You can't make it as a musician in this game anymore. Those days are gone. And again, like I said, you can be the greatest saxophone player since saxophone was invented. But if you don't understand your business and become a businessman with it, you're going to live a frustrated life. You're going to be frustrated
Right.
because nobody's going to come knock on your door and say, "Oh, you're so great as a player. I want to sign you to a label." Them days are over.
Yeah.
That's gone. If anybody knocks on your door, first of all, you got to say, "Okay, what the hell do you want?"
Yeah.
You- your caution flag got to go
Right.
up. You got to be like, "Okay, what's this all about?" You know what I'm saying? And then, so you got to, it's the business of the side of music now where it is, and I use this analogy for people to help them understand. It's it's the same as opening a donut shop. Okay. There's a donut shop on Slauson, there's one on Crenshaw, there's one on Fairfax, there's one on Santa Monica Boulevard. What makes that dude donut different from this dude donut? They're both bread with a hole in the middle.
Right.
What's the deal? Why do I have to go to this guy to get donuts versus that dude to get donuts when they both make the same product?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I use that analogy because that's true in the sense of what's the deal with this sax player versus this sax player, or that guitar player versus that guitar player? They're all donut shop owners.
Right.
It's all about your ingredients that you use to make your donut and how you package it. That's it. Because at the end of the day, it's a clump of bread with a hole in the minute, which a hole in the middle with sugar on it.
Yeah, yeah.
A donut is a donut. See? And that's as simple as I can put it. And musicians have to understand that. You can play horn all day long. That's great. You can reach a level that is surpassed many people, and that's great. But if you don't understand marketing and sales, you're just a good sax player that
Right.
nobody's ever going to hear of.
Yeah, yeah.
And I use sax because I play sax.
Right.
Or you're just a good guitar player that no one will ever hear about.
Do you
That's
play
where the that's where this thing is now.
I'm sorry,
Mhm.
do you play other instruments besides woodwinds?
Yeah, well, I play keys. Yeah, I
Keys?
play keyboards. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I play flute, of course, but that's a double instrument. That's a woodwind instrument. So
Right.
yeah, yeah. But I can't. I started playing guitar, and I got a bass here that I'm playing on a little bit. But I don't know if you know, but years ago I was working on my I think it was the Before It's Gone CD, and I cut my finger off. I
Oh,
cut the tip of this finger. I was building the studio actually, and long story,
oh,
the circular saw it, hit it, and there's my finger laying on the ground. So I
oh.
had to pick it up and put it back on, rush to the hospital and all that. And it never healed properly. So it's like numb. And I actually thought of there goes my freaking sax career. I'm gonna have to start playing drums now,
Yeah.
because I can't feel anything. It's numb. And I'm like,
That's that
but
F sharp
fortunately,
finger? That F sharp finger?
no, that's the middle C finger.
Middle C? Oh, okay.
Yeah, middle C finger. And then so man, it was frightening. It was about 9 months before I could actually deal with it, but it's still numb. I don't
Yeah.
feel anything in it. So, but it didn't, unfortunately for me, it didn't hamper my sax playing. I
Okay.
just can't feel the finger, but I can move it and I know it's doing what it's supposed to do, even though I can't feel it. So yeah, so that was one of those tragic things, but it happened.
All right. So you and Lamech have any shows lined up soon coming up here?
Yeah, we got the first one is Sorrente Jazz and Wine in Houston. We're going to Houston here, and I think it's March 21st, I think, and the year just kicked over, so calls are coming in. As a matter of fact, I got to call them because we got to call the promoter right after this conversation
Okay.
that want us to come up to I think on the East Coast. I'm not sure what it was, but we got to call them and confirm that. So the calls are coming in, calendars filling up.
Yeah.
As we move on throughout the year, we'll be doing more dates, but we got some dates lined up there. Yeah, for
So
sure.
you guys do
Just say it
solo and together, right?
both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes the promoters will call me, and I bring him as my guitar player, and then they'll call him, and he brings me as a sax player. So
Yeah. That's what's up.
that's how we do it. So we
Yeah.
always play together.
Yeah.
But then there is that rare occasion like Seabreeze. He's doing Seabreeze this year, and I'm not going because
Yeah.
he's playing with Trippin' and Rhythm Artists. So
Okay.
he's playing with all of his buddies on the label.
Right.
So I'm not going to that. But there are occasions when he'll go do a gig by himself, and I'm like, nah, you can go do that one by yourself, or I'll do one by myself, and so it happens sometimes.
Man,
But we try to play together most of the time.
how proud of you of him, man.
Man, I'm very proud.
Yeah, you should be,
I mean,
man. Yeah.
I'm very proud.
Yeah.
What more can a dad ask for than to see his son grow up and into this person that you can't see the future. You kind of think that maybe something's going on there that's going to be
Right.
genuine. And then when you actually see it come together at that level, man, look, I've been in tears many a times,
Yeah.
and it's real like that. And my wife, I gotta hide myself,
Right,
because
right, right, right.
he'll be on stage and I'll just tears will just start coming down because I'm just looking at him. And you think about that artist on stage, but then I realize the connection as his dad, and I'm
Yeah.
just so happy. Just so happy for him. Because I know how difficult this journey was, and I wanted to make sure he didn't have to go through the stuff that I went through.
Right.
And that's where the tears come from when I realized that I was fortunate enough to get him in, and by understanding the business of music, like we just mentioned,
Right.
get him to that place where he's good to go. That's when the tears come, because now he's safe. You know what I mean?
That's
And that's what
beautiful.
we all want for our children.
Hey man, you know what? When I interviewed him, and I told him, before we ended, I said, bro, you come from good stock, man, and,
Yeah,
and tell your dad, that you did
yeah,
right. You raised him right, Q. I'm telling you, bro.
yeah, man. I appreciate it. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man. It's just the three of us, me, him, and his mom, and we're God fearing people. Spiritual people. We believe in you know, uh, morals. We have high standards of morals and ethics. And I taught him those principles early of how to treat people and how to respect people. And that's where your blessing is going to come from. It's not from the guitar, it's going to come from you as a human being. And he understood that. I made sure he understand that, because not just in the music business, but in any business,
Yes,
your success is not your product or your service. It's you. People
yes.
buy you. They don't buy products. They buy you. And if you can sell yourself, then you're good to go. That's the lesson I gave him. So he understands that.
Amen. You did great. Hey, Q, man, this has been a great conversation, man. I really appreciate your time.
Oh man, appreciate you having me. Thanks for hanging out with us. And now, man, it was great.
Man, that
It's
was a
great to do
blast.
the interview and then to have that history now with
Yeah,
you hanging out.
yeah,
You know,
man. And it was just so nice to meet you and him. And then the dynamic that you guys
Mhm.
had, man, it's like you say, it's almost like you brothers instead of father and son.
Exactly.
You know what I
Yeah, and
mean?
it's funny.
So, and I love that, man. So, but
Yeah,
before you
'cause
go, let
mhm.
everybody
Oh
know.
wait, real quick, because
I'm sorry.
he is that dude that when we go in Nam, he'll be like, "All right, I'll see y'all later." He takes off, he's
I know,
gone.
I see.
All right, man, see you later. He is that guy now.
Hey, Q, let everybody know your social information, how to get in touch with you and everything, music.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The best way to get in touch with me is through my website, which is QuintinGerardW.com. QuintinGerardW.com. And you can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and I don't use Twitter that much. I'm not a real big social media guy, but I do put stuff up there, and that's Instagram, Twitter, and what's the other one? Facebook.
Facebook, right.
Yeah, just type in either Quintin Gerard W or Funky Sax, FNKYSAX, and you can, you know, friend me or follow me. I got to get better at that social media stuff, man. That's that new generation stuff, and man, it's hard to navigate all those different platforms
Yeah,
all day, every day,
yeah,
because you wouldn't get nothing done.
yeah,
I mean, I get on there and check things occasionally, but I'm gonna have to hire somebody to do it because it's just like too overwhelming. I,
yeah.
I got to spend my time doing music.
I understand.
But yeah, so that's a disclaimer. So if you get on there and you holler at me and I don't holler right back at you, don't get mad at me. I will get to you in a couple days because it's probably just me and I ain't checked it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's all right, man.
You know what I'm saying? So,
All right, Q. Thank you so much, brother. And this will be posted today on YouTube and Facebook a little later. And I'll
all right,
copy the
man.
link. And I appreciate your time, man. Let's stay in touch, man.
Absolutely, man.
All
Thank you
right.
again, man, for having me so much, Dave.
Hey,
Appreciate you,
man, I
bro.
appreciate you. And I'm a sax player too, so I'll be hitting you up for some notes too, man. I might have to
Hey,
get
just
a lesson or something
any,
from you.
yeah, man. Anytime I'm
Okay.
available. Just hit me up. Let me know what you want, and don't. I'll share. I'm open book.
All right, brother. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate you, man.
All right, man.
All right,
Thank you, man. Take
everybody.
care.
You guys,
All
that
right,
was
bye.
my man Quintin Gerard W. Check him out on all the regular platforms. Check his music out. Check out his amazing son, Lamech. He's a great guitarist. And between the two of them, they just awesome people. We love them both. So you guys have a great day. Take care.